Hi everyone, Mark Savage here, and today I want to talk to you about being right. Now, for most of my life, it was always important for me to be right. And I'm sure you've all had experiences like that where it was important for you to be right. You had a perspective and you wanted the other person to understand your perspective. And not only did you want them to understand your perspective, you wanted them to realize that you were correct in your perspective. Now, I'm not necessarily against wanting to be right. In fact, I probably still want to be right. But it's not about being right as much as it is about feeling good. And what I've learned is the more you want to be right, the more it is important to you to be right, the more you're going to end up feeling bad. Let me give you some examples, some really good examples. So, I don't know, it was sometime last week. I don't know what happened. Bella got upset about something. She was a little cranky, and I think that she had wanted me to start dinner. I forget exactly what it was. And I didn't start dinner, or maybe I started dinner, but I forgot something. I forget. Not overly important. But she was upset about it. And so she said something to me. And my response was sort of to kind of defend myself that, I didn't do whatever it was or why, whatever. And it didn't matter what I said. She was having none of it. So now I have an option. I have multiple options. I have options. Right? Option number one is to argue with her, to stand my ground, to stick to my guns, to not let her push me around and not let her be right. This way I'm right. Now, I could do that, and she may or may not agree with me. So, if she doesn't agree with me, which is the likely situation, I don't know how many times you've experienced a situation where you're trying to argue your point, and the other person says, "Oh, you know what? You're right. I'm wrong." I don't know many times it's happened for me. Not a lot, and certainly not so when someone's upset. So in the case of my conversation with Bella, I could have kept arguing for my perspective and tried to beat her into submission, but that wouldn't have worked because she was never going to submit. So then the option is to just not say anything, and in my head be upset that she yelled at me, that she's wrong, that her perspective is wrong, that she doesn't understand my perspective, etc., etc. And the third option, which was my choice, was to close my mouth, stop the discussion, and focus on ways to feel good, and just let it go. Because here's the thing. I'm not going to convince her that she was wrong. And even if I did, I don't feel better from it. And by focusing on arguing with her and going back and forth to prove that I was right, all that's going to do is upset me and her. So now we're both upset instead of just her being upset. Now we're both upset. Instead, I chose to keep my mouth shut, say nothing, let it blow over, and all's right in the world. So I'm not unhappy. We ended up, not apologizing or even discussing it afterwards. See, that's just it. There's no need to apologize. There's no need for her to come to me and say, I was a little bent out of shape. I was wrong, right? No reason for her to do that. It's totally unnecessary. All that has to happen is she has to feel good and I have to feel good. That's it. It doesn't matter who's right and wrong. And that's where so many people get into problems with other people because they're constantly arguing because they have to be right. Abraham Hicks talks a lot about what's more important, feeling good or being right. Now, for most people, and I was in this camp, it was more important for me to be right than for me to feel good. I don't feel that way anymore. Today, it's more important for me to feel good. I don't care about being right. It's not important for me to be right. I don't argue with people. I don't get into debates with people. Now, don't get me wrong. I might be in a conversation with somebody where they say something and I disagree and I tell them that I disagree. But that's as far as it goes. After I tell them I disagree and maybe why I disagree or maybe a little bit of an explanation, then it's up to them. If that person still disagrees with me, then my attitude is agree to disagree. I will drop the conversation. They could say whatever they want and I'm done. I'm out. I'm not interested. because I don't want to argue and I don't want to fight and I don't need to be right. I need to feel good. It's that simple. And for most of us, it's more about being right. So, you're talking to somebody and they don't agree with you about whatever it is. One of my favorite examples really is not anything specific, but it's the idea how people want to be heard, right? So, for example, maybe you got into an argument with a friend of yours and you're upset about it, and now you want to talk to somebody else about it so that they can agree with your point of view, right? Because you need to be right. It's not about feeling good. You need to be right. So you feel that your friend wronged you, and now you go talk to another friend or a family member. You start talking about all these things that this person did and how they wronged you and how they don't understand that they wronged you and how you're upset that they can't see your perspective, blah, 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 blah. Then your friend, if they're a quote unquote good friend, because only good friends agree with you, right? Good friends don't argue with you and tell you you're wrong, or if you're upset about somebody else, tell you that you shouldn't be upset. They don't do that. Good friends tell you how right you are and how terrible this person is, right? I'm being facetious here. I don't agree with that at all, by the way, but that's how most people see it, right? So now, not only are you bent out of shape about what happened with this other person, now you're going to perpetuate that feeling of being bent out of shape. You're going to attract more emotional experiences around this being bent out of shape. And then you're going to tell your friend about it, and then you want that friend to agree with you. And that friend doesn't agree with you. They say, listen, maybe you're looking at this the wrong way, or maybe, your friend was really right. Well, now you're going to get into an argument with friend number 2 because friend number 2 doesn't agree with you. And what's the most important thing? For you to be right, not to feel good. I cannot begin to tell you how many people I know that are unhappy in their lives, not because their lives are difficult or bad or they have any real problems, but because they have to be right. And they argue with people all the time because somebody doesn't see their perspective, and they must get that perspective across. Again, I was that way. I argued with everybody. I was good at it too. I was a great arguer. I could argue almost anything. And I was so good, I can convince you of my perspective, even if I was wrong. I remember once I was talking with my sister, and I was trying to explain to her how she was worse at something than I was, or more of something than I was. I forget what it was. I used some basic math to make her wrong. Now, I just used some formulas and made it all up, and she was wrong. And I was really good, and I made her question it. Well, maybe I am wrong. I made her question it, right? But that was just for fun for me. I was just being silly. But the idea here is that I really did. I always had to be right. And if I was wrong and I realized I was wrong, I didn't want to be wrong. So I changed things around and, excuse me, as I said, maybe argue some math or something to try to make myself look good and for me to be right. But again, it's so important. Feeling good is the most important thing. There's nothing more important in my life than feeling good. I'm not going to argue with somebody to prove that I'm right. I'm not going to really do much of anything that doesn't feel good to me. Now, of course, there are exceptions to every rule, right? Now, if I'm in a bad space right now, like right now, my vibration is off, right? I'm in the lower half of the scale, of the vibrational scale. Maybe I'm feeling frustrated or whatever. Certainly, it's possible that in that state of frustration, what have you, that I might get into an argument with somebody or have some back and forth with somebody that doesn't feel good. But that's because my vibration is already messed up, right? I'm not feeling good and then messed my vibration up. My vibration was down here to begin with. But for the most part, I don't argue with people anymore. I don't care if they're right. I don't care if they're wrong. Now, again, I might be in a conversation with somebody and express that I disagree, okay? But if that disagreement causes the person to kind of be like, well, now I'm bent out of shape and now let's argue our positions. I'm right and you're wrong. Fine, I'm wrong. I'm fine with being wrong. I'm fine being wrong. It doesn't matter to me. And, what happens... Another example of where this takes a turn for the negative is Logan, my son, as an example. So oftentimes, unfortunately, my ex-wife will badmouth me to Logan. And look, it's okay. I don't get upset about it. It's fine. She is where she is, and she's going to do what she's going to do. The same way I'm where I am, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. So oftentimes she'll badmouth me to Logan. Excuse me, I know this because Logan's told me about it, and he tells me he doesn't like it. So I told him, listen, honey, just ignore it. Don't worry about it. If mommy badmouths me, let her badmouth me. She's badmouthing me because she's in a bad place. Her vibration is low, and just ignore her. You don't have to defend me. And what he said was that the reason that he would argue with her and kind of go back and forth with her, saying that I'm good when my ex is saying that I'm bad, is he doesn't want her to think that he agrees with her. And I told him, honey, don't worry about it. What's the difference what she thinks? It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. I don't care what anybody else thinks. I don't care if she thinks I'm good or bad. It doesn't matter to me. And you shouldn't worry about it. It's not important. The most important thing for you is to feel good. That's what I told him. I explained that to him. So I try to live my life by focusing on ways to feel good. And, for me, it could be anything. I don't have to focus on big things. I don't have to focus on making $1 million. I don't have to focus on winning the lottery. I don't have to focus on having an amazing relationship. I don't have to focus on any of that stuff. What I focus is on anything that makes me feel good. It could be a sunrise. It could be, stepping out on the balcony and just listening to the waves crashing. It could be taking a walk on the beach. It could be anything that makes me feel good. That's what I focus on. And if somebody's upset with me or there's a problem with something, I don't get involved with it. I don't need to be right. I don't need to point out how I'm right. I don't need to argue from my perspective. I don't need to argue to be right. And I will tell you that my relationship with Bella is spectacular. I can't even begin to tell you how wonderful it is. We talk to each other. We communicate really, really well. We're very loving toward each other. We're very sweet to each other. And, I never yell at her. I never tell her she's wrong. I never have to be right. Not at all. It's not important to be right. It's important to feel good. And that's all I care about is feeling good. So, the reason I never yell at her and we never argue is if ever I get upset with her or about something she's done or something she said to me, aside from the fact that there's only law of attraction and I attracted it, that's besides the point, right? And that's a key point here, right? Is that it's law of attraction, I attracted everything, so nothing is her fault. But even if we step beyond that and say, no, that doesn't matter, she was mean to me because she's bad, okay, which I don't agree with, but let's just say that's the case, right? Well, even if that's true, my focusing on her badness, my focusing on what she did that upset me, all that does is bring me more of that upset, keeps me focused on things that I don't want. So I don't argue with her or fight with her because it doesn't feel good to me. It doesn't feel good to me. And I'm selfish about how I feel. I don't get involved with people about things that don't feel good to me. And if you want to complain to me about something, I'm not going to let you. I'm going to cut you short and I'm going to move you into a different direction. And if you don't like it, then we don't have to talk. And I'm fine with that. Again, the most important thing for me, I feel good. If I feel good, everything works out. If I don't feel good, things don't work out. So my focus is on feeling good. And you can't feel good if you have to be right. You can't feel good if you have to be right. So stop being right. Stop worrying about being right. There are times where I know I'm right. I know the other person is wrong. I have documented proof. It doesn't matter. How does that help anything? First of all, I've done that before. I've had situations where I've been in an argument with somebody and they defend their position and then I pull out proof of their position being false. All that does, it doesn't make them say, oh, geez, I didn't realize that, I'm sorry. They just dig in further or they get upset at me for proving it, right? So now I proved that you're wrong. Now they're upset with me because I proved it. They're no longer upset with me about being wrong, that I'm wrong. They're upset with me because I proved them wrong, okay? There's no upside to it. We have this horrible habit as people, as humans, that we have to be right. And we get into arguments with people all the time because we have to be right. And it's more important to us to be right than to feel good. And that's just crazy. As I said, I know what it's like. I've been there. I was that way myself. But I learned how the laws of the universe work. I understand the law of attraction. I understand that I attract everything to my experience. And it's all based on how I feel. So again, if I'm in a situation where I'm just having a conversation with somebody and I think I'm right and they think that they're right, then my goal is to feel good. So I'm not going to argue anymore. I'm out. I'm good. You're right. It's all good. You can be right. And I don't have a problem with letting that other person feel that they're right. It doesn't matter to me if they think that they're right or they think that they're wrong. I don't need to be right other than for myself. Right? If I know if I'm having a conversation with somebody and they think that they're right and I think I'm right, I might go to see if I'm right or not because I'm curious what the correct answer is, right? But I don't care. And if I find out that I'm right, I don't have to see I'm right. I don't have to do that. I just know that I'm right and it's good enough for me. I don't need to fight with people and argue with people over it because it doesn't feel good. And the thing you're going to find with every time I speak and every video you watch of mine, and if you ever communicate with me one-on-one, you're going to find out all I care about is feeling good. The first and foremost thing is how do I feel? And I want to feel good. The most important thing in the world for me is that I feel good. And again, you can't feel good if you're arguing with somebody. And you're arguing with somebody is because you have to be right. Don't worry about being right. Worry about being good. Feeling good, excuse me. Focus on feeling good. That should be your only goal. Focus on feeling good. If you feel good, good things happen. If you feel bad, bad things happen. It's really fairly simple to understand, and it's easy to implement once you understand how it works. So with that being said, I hope you really enjoyed the video. I hope you got a lot of good information out of, a lot of content from it. And if you liked it, by all means, click the like button. Let the world know that you liked it. And if you want to be notified whenever a new video comes out, I put out 2 to 4 videos a week. If you want to get notified as soon as it comes out, by all means, click the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Take care.